Hi, I am Nicholas Key. I have been in the tech space for about 15 years, and I like and more or less absolutely just overjoyed by the thought of anything related to technology. I see it as I guess a byproduct of humanity, and I treat it as the entry node for us exploring different forms of reality or untapped potential within our capabilities for just advancing. Uh, and for the past 15 years, I've served as a software engineer, a product manager, project manager, um, an AI specialist to some degree, um, an entrepreneur, and of course, I guess a community manager in some respects. Right. Yes. So currently, though I wear many hats, and so one of the companies that I run, called Osu, it's essentially a venture studio that churns out different products and services, and we essentially just bring them to product market fit and make them available for the wider public. Um, our first product that we have been working on for the past few months is called Seco, and that is essentially a job board and HR recruitment platform that companies can use to just onboard and recruit different roles and positions that are in need. We found within the market, especially now, that there wasn't something that was end to end for HR managers and recruitment staff to really adequately and efficiently bring new rising talent to the forefront and introduce them to their operations in capacities where they need to more or less create a whole lot of impact in a very short time. And we just needed to, we wanted to develop a space where the employers and the job seekers themselves can come together in one place to be matched based on culture and adaptability and everything related to fit. Right. Yes. So I'm huge on evolving technologies. One of the, I guess, the most prevalent right now is blockchain tech. Well, blockchain and AI, but in right now with respect to the work that I believe we as a country and all other small island developing states can take advantage of this blockchain technology, mainly because we have a lot of disjointed systems, and there isn't the capacity to accommodate everyone in such I guess, a broken system. And so blockchain it can be seen as one of the answers to helping to solve that problem. Um, and in just my thoughts and just my planning, I devised an idea to create somewhat of an augmented blockchain city model. And what that looks like practically is inching at the main GDP drivers of a particular country. For Jamaica, for instance, ours tend to be revolving around food and agriculture, the RNG economy, so that's like entertainment, tourism, the likes, and the last being like financial services. And so those three drivers can be seen as, I guess, the origin point for, I guess, an overlay of a blockchain city. What I'd started out with two projects right now. The first is an NFT platform specifically catered towards Jamaican artists, but also the Caribbean artists as well, um, across all different types of art forms. And we're not necessarily focused on traditional NFTs. We're more focused on those that provide a lot of culture and heritage and context. so that we can add value to the entire blockchain ecosystem with respect to digital art. And that would of course offer a whole lot of legitimacy, not just for the orange economy in the Caribbean, but also it would provide validity to the future of the blockchain space, specifically in the context of things like the metaverse and virtual worlds that can essentially use these digital assets in a real way to provide value and also provide money in the pockets of the creators. Yeah, so Jamaica Decides is the brainchild of just a group of tech enthusiasts that really wanted to see change, especially during these times. It's born out of Codeware. That's what we call ourselves, a group of 8 of us, each with varying skills. And so we had decided to focus originally on creating open source technologies that would create more habitable digital environments for us, especially during this time. And so the first one, of course, the first thing that we created was Jamaica Decides, because it was right at the point at which we were supposed to have elections for Jamaica. And so Jamaica Decides is essentially a democracy-based tool that would provide insights on real-time insights on the results of the election based on constituency, and breakdown by parish, as well as it also highlights the winners, the losers, and of course the metrics with respect to amount won by or amount lost by. But it was just a simple tool that was supposed to provide information to the masses, not just here in Jamaica, but also throughout the diaspora. Yeah, so after Jamaica Decides, we had, the group of us decided that we were going to delve into more projects related to COVID to provide more insights in whatever way possible. We saw an opportunity whereby there wasn't enough data being churned through the pipeline from the Ministry of Health. And so we decided to essentially just scrape the data from the ministry website and present it in I guess, a reader-friendly format that can be disseminated via social media. So we created a bot for Twitter that would update every time, each day that the ministry would release information from their website. We would grab that data, would be presented to the masses, and people could easily share, download the image or save the image and share that via other social media platforms as well. And this was just all automated. The other COVID-related solution that I've been involved with was Corona Hacks. Corona Hacks is essentially a 2-month online hackathon whereby we brought hundreds of youth together from all over the Caribbean, Africa, the continent, and the diaspora and the Commonwealth. And so we partnered with Facebook, the Commonwealth Youth Council, Commonwealth Secretariat, CARICOM, CRIC as well, and a few other entities to not just provide training to these youth to code and develop their own solutions, but also come out of the entire process better understanding the problem, to further develop whatever solutions they had thought of and developed during that time to bring it to market. We had a few teams that had created solutions geared towards helping to better identify people who were COVID positive. And so that would provide a better reading and mapping of how the virus spread. This solution was implemented in India. We had a few others that provided ways in which people could just interact regularly just by sitting at home because they're more or less were unable to just shop in the traditional ways that they were used to. And we had a few other solutions tailored towards providing people access to streamlined data and information that was more or less accurate to avoid the noise of fake news. But those were just a few solutions that we had come out of the pipeline, and some of them are being continued today. I have been deeply involved in climate change action initiatives in the past, but more from a regulatory standpoint, vicariously of my work through either academia or just the government, or different governments, that is. And what I found was that there wasn't a more aggressive and active approach towards climate change action. And so that is what I decided to explore some more. And one of the most impactful ways for us to combat climate change is to remove as much carbon from the atmosphere as possible. Because as people probably know, the temperatures through the atmosphere they're consistently rising, and they're expected to rise to probably 1.5 degrees Celsius by about 2040. And we need to do everything in our power to make that not a reality, so that we can live in a more hospitable place. And so the most critical path that I could think of for the Caribbean in this carbon removal fight is to think more biologically, because we don't have the physical and chemical needs and infrastructure in place to facilitate that kind of action. And the most biological thing to do would essentially be to look at habitats and organisms that provide that pulling action. They happen to be oysters, seaweeds, and things related to mariculture environments that can be grown and artificially developed. And so that is the origins of Key Farms, the ocean farm that I had started. We focus on climate change. We just happen to sell seaweed and oysters as a byproduct. And we do this by providing an entire ecosystem cycle flow of providing food in the form of seaweed and oysters that can be made into different value chain based byproducts. We also sequester carbon and capture carbon from the environment, so that we can provide that assurance that we are doing as much as possible to reduce the temperatures of the atmosphere. And we are also providing a third component, which is a finance element to ensure that the cycle is replicated and scalable and open source, so that anyone, not just within Jamaica, but across the entire Caribbean region, can participate and be involved in climate change action. And so even though we sell the seaweed, we also have a blockchain piece component that is an added benefit towards how this entire cycle works. So we harvest and collect seaweed, sure, but when we do that, we of course sell it off as raw products, or we create byproducts from it. There's another component where we pull carbon from the atmosphere, and instead of just collecting carbon credits from various organizations and countries overseas based on their regulations, we are tokenizing those credits so that they can be used as assets and instruments for investment. So this looks like a fisherman wanting to get involved in ocean farming. They essentially set up a seaweed and oyster farm. They provide the seaweed and oysters to us. They, of course, receive cash as a reward, as a liquidating factor, but they also receive carbon credits that they can, carbon credit tokens that they can hold on for now and use as collateral to either take out loans at a later date, or they can just liquidate said tokens for actual cash rewards later on. Similarly to how you would treat stocks and bonds. All right. Yes. So on the horizon, I'm still big on community development within the context of tech. And so I've been more or less trying to bring as many blockchain companies to the entire Caribbean region to not just provide training for regular Web 2.0 developers, but also introduce people who are fairly tech enthusiasts and familiar with tech to the entire blockchain ecosystem so that we within the Caribbean and especially Jamaica can have a true impact in the space before it gets too crowded. And so that is one of the things that I'm working on with respect to providing community value. I'm also just kind of working on a few other projects related to augmented reality and virtual reality in the context of using Facebook as a vehicle and providing more open source solutions for all. So with Facebook, I'm still in charge of their, I guess, their local chapter for Jamaica, and so we have a whole lot of projects that are lined up right now to be built. And so what I've done is created different milestone features for community members to take to attack, and then they build them. We bring them to market together as a community and open source it so that different companies or individuals can adapt and just amplify on the solutions to make it wholesome. That's like later down. But things are brewing for, for everything. I know people can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Nicholas Key, and they can find me on Instagram, nicholas.key, or on Twitter at Key Nicholas. And hopefully in the near future, nicolaskey.com, where I'll house hopefully everything that I'm doing